What up, ninjas? I want to talk to you guys tonight about an interesting conversation that I have from time to time with students. And it's generally a blue belt or a purple belt or some colored belt, and it often happens right after a promotion. They'll come to me and they'll say, I feel like an imposter. I feel like everybody got it wrong. I don't deserve this belt. And it's interesting because psychologists first identified something called the imposter syndrome in the 1970s. And basically what it is an inability to internalize success in spite of a life that's very successful. And it's generally very successful people that experience this. And I find in Jiu-Jitsu, it's generally blue belts and purple belts that come to me and feel like this. And I feel like it happens at those levels because that's a point of our training where we really begin to identify ourselves with our belt. Think about it. When you meet somebody else that practices Jiu-Jitsu and they find out that you train too, what's the first thing they ask you? What belt color are you? How long have you been training? And when someone walks on the mat that you don't recognize, the first thing you do is you look at their belt color. And that's very common in Jiu-Jitsu. It's sort of how we create a pecking order, so to speak. So it's normal to begin to identify yourself with your belt, but the problem becomes that we start to compare ourselves with everybody else's belt color and everybody else's skill level. Which is easy to do because we're playing a game where someone wins and someone loses every time we slap and bump hands. So it's easy to compare ourselves to others. When you begin to compare yourself to everyone else, you're never going to feel like you're good enough. Because there's always going to be somebody better than you. And yes, that can give you something to work towards and get something to strive towards, but ultimately, you're never going to feel like you're going to get there. So instead of comparing yourself to others, it's better, I feel like, to compare yourself to your previous performance. How would you do against yourself 6 months ago? How would you do against yourself a year ago? And that's a better benchmark for yourself. Because if you go to the school and train and you gain all of your self-worth as a human being from whether you can tap somebody out or not tap somebody out, then you're completely missing the point of why you started in the first place. Yes, you want to be able to tap other people out. But you don't want to feel like that if you have a bad day, that it's like life-shattering. Because it's not. Sometimes your performance is going to simply come down to the day of the week. I really feel like that. Sometimes you do good on Tuesday and sometimes you do better on Saturday, and sometimes Saturday's terrible. And you can never quite pinpoint why it is. Sometimes maybe someone else is just having a better day. Maybe it was their breakthrough on that day. And sometimes it might just be that you're tired or you didn't eat enough or whatever it happens to be. So it's important that you put it all into perspective because Jiu-Jitsu is a very subjective martial art. Your instructors are going to base your growth and your performance on you, on the challenges that you're overcoming, and also on your physical attributes, not comparing you to everyone else. Don't seek external validation from others. In other words, you don't need compliments from everybody around you or your coaches all the time. It's a mental crutch, and you don't need it. The only person who can determine whether you're happy or not, on or off the mats, is you, not anyone else around you. If you try to create your happiness based on how everyone else feels about you, you're going to be left pretty disappointed. It's your path, your journey. It has nothing to do with anyone else or how anyone else feels about your martial arts. If you feel like you need a mental high five from time to time, create your compliment file. It's a mental file. And in your compliment file, think of a few things that maybe your coaches have said to you over the years, or maybe even compliments for yourself. I'm so proud of the way that I've improved my guard game. I'm so proud that I'm still doing jiu-jitsu 3 years later. I'm so proud that I can do triangle chokes when I couldn't do them 5 years ago. And when you need those mental high fives, go to that file. Own up to your success. Own up to your success. If you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a few years and you're a blue belt, you got there because you deserved it. And regardless how you feel about your jiu-jitsu, you deserve to be a blue belt, and no one can ever take that away from you. So it's important that you own up to your success and give yourself a little bit of credit. Your job is not to beat yourself down constantly and criticize your performance. If a good friend came to you and said, man, I'm having a tough time with my jiu-jitsu, I just don't feel like a blue belt, what would you tell them? You'd be like, yeah, dude, you suck. You're right. You should probably go hand that belt in right now. No, you wouldn't tell them that. You would tell them that, man, you're having a rough day. It's okay. Imagine someone gives you a bucket and they ask you to go down to the lake and fill the bucket. And you bring it back. By the time you get back, it's almost empty. And so you run down again and you fill this bucket and you get back and it's almost empty. And you continue on this fool's errand. And it's a fool's errand until you figure out why your bucket's not full. You have to expose the weakness. And then you realize there's a hole in your bucket. But if you ignore the hole or don't address it, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. And jiu-jitsu is a lot like that. You have to expose your weaknesses because jiu-jitsu is going to do it anyhow. So until you deal with the weaknesses that you're having on the mat, you're going to feel like you're not getting anywhere. And the way that you do that is you get with your instructor, you ask for feedback, and you figure out what it is that I need to do. Where do I need to put my emphasis so that I can continue to grow in my jiu-jitsu experience? And address the holes in your bucket. And when you address the holes in your bucket, you're going to feel like you're getting better. Don't fake it to make it. Fake it to become it. Become that purple belt. Become that blue belt. Get to the essence of what that means, both on and off the mat. We don't wear our blue belts and our purple belts around our waist off the mat, but the way that we can wear them is by being the martial artist. That indescribable quality. When someone meets you for the first time, maybe they walk away and say, there's something different about him or her. I can't even describe it. And the secret will be that you're a martial artist, because that's what you become. Happy training, ninjas. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media sites. We really appreciate all of your support. Os.